This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning and great to be with you. I'm Audrina Sinclair.
And I'm Jackie Kostek in for Dana this morning. Thanks so much for being with us. Now at 9, a pivotal day for the trial of the man charged in the Highland Park parade shooting. Jury selection begins today and we're at the courthouse with what you can expect.
And breaking right now, an overnight crash still causing major issues on the Kennedy and Edens expressways.
But let's start with your first alert forecast. It is better news in the weather department today because we are warming up. We've already warmed up a fair bit. Let's start with meteorologist Laura Bannon. Laura, good morning once again. And this is a better good morning than it was last week.
Certainly. It's not the prettiest looking day, but it's going to be feeling pretty nice. Temperature wise, we're going up way above the norm, and we are looking with a lot of clouds all around Chicago on our live camera network. But let's dive into it. We're tacking on a few degrees since earlier this morning, low to mid 40s now. Valparaiso and LaPorte, Michigan City, not too far behind, sitting at 39 degrees. Do have lots of wind out there, a breezy day, but stronger winds in the wind direction here will keep those temperatures nice and elevated here this afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, highs low 50s, falling through the 40s here this evening with a chance for showers here this evening. We'll talk more in detail about that rain chance and the better rain chance in your first alert forecast here shortly.
All right, Laura, thank you so much. And we begin with breaking news. The outbound Kennedy at the Eden split is now open after a bad crash that we followed all morning long. Illinois State Police say 2 people were taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. We're told 3 cars crashed there just after 2:30 this morning. All lanes were closed for crash reconstruction for several hours, and traffic was being diverted onto the Edens. But it is all clear now.
Well, right now, jury selection is beginning for the accused Highland Park parade shooter.
And survivors and victims' families who do plan to testify will be allowed inside of the courtroom. Our Marissa Perlman is live outside of the Lake County Courthouse this morning. Marissa, what can we expect?
Good morning to both of you. Yeah, the trial now expected to last 4 to 6 weeks, and this will really be our first look at the evidence prosecutors say they have against the defendant, Robert Crimo III. So it will now be up to the Lake County State's attorney to try to prove that Crimo killed 7 people and injured dozens of others after firing a rifle into a crowd at the 2022 4th of July parade. Investigators also accuse Crimo of planning the attack for weeks. Now, a judge ruled just last week in favor of prosecutors who want to allow survivors who are also testifying in the trial to be in the courtroom during the proceedings. Nearly all of the 48 survivors from that day plan to take the stand. Now, typically, witnesses are not allowed in the courtroom until after their testimony is over. Crimo's case has moved forward slowly after multiple delays over the last 2 years. In December of 2023, you may remember Crimo III insisted he wanted to fire his public defenders and then immediately reversed that decision weeks later. He also later backed out of a plea deal that would have meant he pleaded guilty to 55 total charges. Crimo is now pleading not guilty to all charges in this case. Again, jury selection expected to get underway here any moment. We'll bring you the latest here throughout the day from Waukegan. For now, we're live inside the Lake County Courthouse. I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS News Chicago. Back to you.
Marissa, thank you. And jury selection also beginning in another high-profile trial, this one for the landlord accused of killing a 6-year-old Palestinian boy. 71-year-old Joseph Juba faces murder and hate crime charges in the death of Wadi Al-Fayumi. Juba, who was the family's landlord in Plainfield, was accused of attacking the boy and his mother back in October 2023 because he was upset over the Israel-Hamas war. Juba has pleaded not guilty. The FBI also looking into federal hate crime charges in the case. Coming up at 9:30, our Darius Johnson will be live at the courthouse ahead of jury selection. And now we turn to your nonstop news where we're continuing to follow that investigation, a shooting on the north side that left 1 man dead and another in the hospital.
Asel Rezai reports now from the 24th District Chicago Police Department with the latest on that investigation.
We know one of those victims remains in the hospital in critical condition this morning. Chicago police still trying to piece together exactly what led to this shooting. take a look. You can see crime tape stretching across the entire street on Damon near Birchwood Avenue. Several evidence markers on the sidewalk there as police investigate the scene. A nearby apartment window was even hit by a bullet. Police say a 31-year-old man along with an unidentified man were both found with multiple gunshot wounds just before 10 o'clock last night. The unidentified man was shot in the head and the neck. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. The 31-year-old man was shot in the chest and the leg. At last check, he was critical at St. Francis Hospital. Police say a witness saw 4 men running away from the scene on foot. This morning, we're working to find out more information about that victim who died. Chicago police still investigating this shooting. They say so far they've made no arrests. Reporting on the north side, I'm Asal Razai, CBS News Chicago.
Thank you. And also breaking out of the South Shore neighborhood, an apartment building fire is now out. Around 11 o'clock last night, smoke and flames could be seen rising from this building near 67th and Paxton. The Chicago Fire Department says there were no injuries reported, and they are now investigating that fire. The man who faces charges in the brutal stabbing of a Southside mother and her 2 sons is fighting extradition back to Chicago.
And this morning, those young boys are still being treated in the hospital while communities have come together at a vigil over the weekend in support of this family. The victim here, 33-year-old Tiana Jones, was stabbed to death Thursday night while her young sons, just 11 and 8 years old, were left critically injured. The suspect arrested in connection to the case has now been identified as Jones's boyfriend, 39 years old. His name's Marcus Bosley, and he was arrested in Northwest Indiana Friday after there was an Amber Alert issued and then a police chase. The community is now supporting this family that, of course, grieving right now, and they're trying to make sure that domestic violence victims get the resources they need before it's too late.
These kids are going to be traumatized for the rest of their natural life. So we want to support this family. We want to support this community.
So our office will be making sure that women all throughout this ward, especially in the month of March, when we will celebrate sheroes all across and women's stories, the stories should not end like this.
And yesterday's prayer vigil was the first of many planned across the 6th Ward the next couple of days, all to support the family.
And breaking overnight, Pope Francis is resting on his 10th day in the hospital. The Vatican now says a serious lung infection and double pneumonia have led to the early stages of kidney failure. Well-wishers have been gathering both outside of the hospital in Rome and in Vatican City. Doctors in Rome say the 88-year-old's condition is touch and go, given his age, fragility, and pre-existing lung disease. The Pope has also been given a blood transfusion and is now receiving a high-flow oxygen through his nose. The Vatican says Pope Francis participated in a small mass inside of the hospital chapel with workers who have been taking care of him. And Israeli tanks could be seen entering the West Bank for the first time in more than 20 years. The Israeli military has been told to prepare for a, quote, extended stay there. It comes as Israel is refusing to release more than 600 Palestinians who were supposed to be freed after Hamas returned hostages on Saturday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is demanding Hamas end what he calls humiliating hostage release ceremonies before moving forward with that exchange deal. A senior Hamas official told CNN that an immediate release must happen before any future peace talks.
Well, New York City is closing a hotel that has been a big part of helping asylum seekers who were bused to the city from Texas. That hotel opened at the height of the migrant crisis in 2023. Mayor Eric Adams there in New York says it's closing because the number of new arrivals has dropped dramatically. Now, this all comes after the DOJ told prosecutors to drop corruption charges against Mayor Adams. Some accuse him of arranging a quid pro quo with the Trump administration to have the case dropped in exchange for his cooperation with ICE in New York. But the mayor denies those claims. And in the last 20 minutes, we've learned a lawsuit has been updated on behalf of federal workers. Attorneys say that presidential advisor Elon Musk violated the law over the weekend when he demanded employees explain their accomplishments or risk being fired.
The lawsuit hopes to block the mass layoffs, and it's not the only shakeup. So as Jared Hill reports, the White House is firing 2,000 USAID employees and putting thousands more on administrative leave.
Today, the clock may be ticking for some federal employees. After a weekend post on X from Elon Musk, a mass email went out to millions of federal workers, instructing them to reply with 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week. The deadline, midnight tonight.
The chainsaw for bureaucracy.
Musk writing a failure to respond will be taken as a resignation, but not every agency is cooperating with Musk's new demand. Freshly sworn-in FBI Director Kash Patel, in a statement obtained by CBS News, said the Bureau will conduct reviews, adding, when and if further information is required, we will coordinate the responses. The Departments of State, Homeland Security, and Defense have all told their employees not to comply. The escalation came hours after President Trump posted on Truth Social he'd like to see Elon get more aggressive in his efforts to shrink the federal workforce.
The fraudsters, liars, cheaters, globalists, and deep state bureaucrats are being sent packing.
Republican Senator John Curtis on Face the Nation called for compassion.
I regret that narrative. We all know, thousands, millions of federal workers who are good people, who work hard. But the reality of it is we have 3 million federal workers.
Today, President Trump turns his focus to foreign relations, inviting France's president to the White House. Russia's war in Ukraine is expected to be a top issue, with Ukraine's president saying over the weekend he'd step down for peace and a place in the NATO alliance. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Well, new this morning, Starbucks is laying off workers, while the coffee chain is letting more than 1,000 employees go.
This means the world to me. You can't know. Thank you, SAG-AFTRA. Thank you.
And a lifetime honor for Jane Fonda at last night's SAG Awards. We'll have a look at some of the other big moments from the big night.
Breezy, mild day in the 50s. I'll show you how long this warm weather will last in your first alert forecast.
Welcome back. The 2025 Screen Actors Guild Awards wrapped up in Los Angeles last night.
And the big winner for Best Film Ensemble was the papal thriller Conclave.
People have spoken so eloquently and movingly about community. I don't want to add more, but I think we do recognize the supreme importance of it in our work and in the world.
Actor Ralph Fiennes spoke as he accepted the award with fellow cast members. Conclave dramatizes the fictional election of a new pope. This as Jane Fonda was given the Guild's Lifetime Achievement Award. The 87-year-old spoke on her unusual career.
Have you ever heard the phrase, how does it go? Yeah, it's okay to be a late bloomer as long as you don't miss the flower show. I'm a late bloomer. This is the flower show.
I love that. The 2-time Oscar winner made references to defining events in history as well, like the Civil Rights Movement. She added, "We are in our documentary moment right now."
And Demi Moore took home honors for the lead actress for her role in The Substance. This award seems to solidify her Oscar chances by following up her Golden Globe. The Oscars will be held this Sunday. Gosh, don't they just look beautiful?
Oh, yes, and I love when she opened up at her last award show and she was talking about being told by a producer, like, basically, you ain't it, girl. Like, you're not one of the big ones. And look at her now.
Which is wild.
I love that.
I feel like it's such a blessing to be, like, underestimated, though. You know, like, I think then you almost have more in you to be like, see?
Like, drive. Watch me work.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Love that.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I'm really happy to be starting off a new week with just a very different weather story. We got warm up.
Totally different, yeah.
So nice.
Hopefully we can keep this momentum going.
Let's do it.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, March rolls around, we think we're really out of the thick of it, and in reality, we're really not. But we do at least have a nice little week ahead of us. We're going to be well above the norm, going up to the 40s and 50s through Friday. It's not until the weekend that we eventually talk about some cooling changes, but it's really just going to be bringing us back to reality. Now, in terms of wintry weather, not a whole lot to talk about. In fact, because it is so warm, we are looking at a couple of rain chances. The first one moves through overnight tonight, and then by the middle part of the week is when we'll see some rain showers, especially for Wednesday morning. That Wednesday morning commute is likely going to be a sloppy, slow one out there. Not the case right now. No weather delays. We're warming up. Low to mid 40s now. We have 43 in the Loop. Waukegan also sitting at 43, 40 DeKalb, and Joliet at 43. Upper 30s from Valparaiso, LaPorte to Michigan. Michigan City. We do have some gusty breezes blowing in from the southwest, holding sustained at 15 miles per hour. We'll likely see some gusts that get close to 25 here today. And the impact, at least right now, while we wait to get into the 50s, is those wind chills. Feels more like the middle and upper 30s currently at the hour. Now, we've got some small rain chances ahead here this evening. Overnight hours, dry skies on Tuesday. Wednesday is when that rain is really going to ramp up out there for the front half of the day. But this evening's rain chance mostly going to be light in nature, clearing out. Early in the morning on Tuesday, there may be a brief isolated shower to start the day. Skies clear, sunshine before that next round of rain comes through in the morning hours on Wednesday. Could have some pockets of heavy rain through at least the midday hours, clearing out. And we do see some blustery winds building in for the rest of the week. And we're not quite done with the 50s just yet for the end of the week. Today, a high of 52 degrees. Looking for some warmer readings, middle upper 50s farther to the south. Tonight, chilly with a low of 36 degrees. Looking at just plain rain here this week. Dry tomorrow, 50 degrees, 53 on Wednesday. We turn colder, again, still above the norm at 44, 53 on Friday. And there's your seasonal temperatures for the weekend in the high 30s. All right, let's change gears, talk traffic. Chris, it was a busy Monday for you.
Indeed, things are starting to calm down a whole bunch after 6 hours. The two cars that were involved in that serious crash in the outbound Kennedy were removed shortly after 8:30 this morning. All the lanes reopened, and the big-time delays, well, they're not as big time anymore. They're starting to come down, but it's still no picnic on the core expressways here. A lot of people were affected by that, having to get out to O'Hare Field, and of course, those directly involved in that were thinking about you guys too. The outbound side of the Kennedy backing up pretty solid, coming out of Hubbard's Cave all the way out to past the Nagel Curve. That's after the crash was cleared away, so that gives you some sort of an idea of what's in store. Had a crash on the southbound side of I-55 before Lamont Road. Vehicle hit a light pole, wound up in the ditch. There was a bunch of police activity there. Looks like they have gotten that out of there, so we're starting to recover really good on both directions of I-55. Probably the heaviest delay there west of the Tri-State Tollway is northbound into 355 still. Chris Habermill, CBS News Chicago.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. And next, cell phones in schools. It's been a concern for classrooms nationwide, and now Illinois may have its own ban in place. So we dive into what's being proposed and the potential impact.
Welcome back. So Illinois could soon have a law either banning or limiting the use of cell phones in public schools.
Last week, Governor J.B. Pritzker announced his support for such legislation during his State of the State address.
This session, I'll move forward with legislation requiring all school districts in Illinois to adopt a cell phone policy that bans the use of phones during classroom instruction.
So joining us now to dig into this proposal and how it would work, Samantha Smiley, the state education reporter for Chalkbeat Chicago, which covers all things education. Samantha, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So we just heard the governor voice his support for some sort of cell phone ban in schools, and they're already seeing some bills on the table. So let's first talk about the two bills state lawmakers have proposed. Can you break those down for us?
Yeah, so far the bills that I have is one from the Senate, SB 2427.
Yep, we have that one on the screen now. Uh-oh, maybe we lost audio. We lost your audio for a second. Sorry, Samantha.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Let's try again. Let's start with the Senate bill.
Yeah, no problem. So Senate Bill 2427, the key point here is that on or before 2026-2027 school year, school boards need to adopt a policy on the use of cell phones. And basically it just says that like students can't use cell phones during classroom time or instructional time, and there needs to be an accessible storage of cell phones. There are some exceptions to the bill. So like if a teacher says, hey, pull out your cell phones, I need you all to look up this thing on the internet for me, or it's an emergency, or a physician says, hey, the student should have it in the classroom for their well-being, or if it fulfills a child's individualized education plan, an IEP or a 504 plan, or things like that.
Got it. And then is there also a second bill too?
Yeah, so there's a House bill, and that's always happens in the state legislature, that there are bills in both chambers that are pretty similar. So HB 2975 is basically the same thing as saying that like school boards have to come up with how they want students to use a cell phone in school or on campus. And the exceptions would be lunchtime, recess, passing periods, or emergency situations.
Is there research, Samantha, behind or supporting these cell phone bans that shows that students are able to, be present in their classrooms and that it actually has a positive effect on learning if they don't have their cell phones to, scroll around on or something during class?
I'm not sure about if there's any research around, like, if it's helpful or harmful, but all I do know in this moment in time is something that the governor said, which is that he support these policies because, one, he wants to make sure that children are paying attention in class, and that, two, he wants to limit cyberbullying. And those are two things that schools have been most concerned about because the pandemic was really bad on student academics. And also, social media has made it so much easier to bully kids in this point in time.
Yeah, we did see that mental health discussion being brought up because of that 2023 study that says about 51% of teens spend at least 4 hours on social media, and the use of that makes teens more depressed and more anxious, and I'm sure that's going to be part of the public discussion. Do you think that they'll have public support backed by this based on your knowledge? I know this is like your area of expertise in education.
Yeah, so I think that is going to be mixed as we're watching, right? Like, I'm assuming that for school leaders, like principals, and for teachers, that they might be like, yeah, we absolutely need this because I'm noticing that my students are more interested in what's happening online than they are in the classroom. But and some parents might support it as well, but there might be some parents who say like, hey, our country still has a problem with school shooting, and I need my child to have their phone on them in case of emergency, or a child might be responsible for their younger siblings getting home, so like they might need their cell phones then, or just anything. And I'm sure kids are like, okay, like here's another thing for us.
I know, for sure. Samantha Smiley, so much more to talk about with this, but we ran out of time, so thank you for joining us, reporter for Chalk Beat Chicago. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. And we do want to note that if this legislation is approved, Illinois would join 8 other states with policies that ban or limit cell phone use in schools. And new this morning, Starbucks announces layoffs, why the coffee chain is cutting more than 1,000 jobs, and which employees are impacted.
This is CBS News Chicago.
Good morning and great to be with you. I'm Audrina Sinclair.
And I'm Jackie Kostek in for Dana. It is 9:30 on your Monday morning. Thanks so much for sticking with us. As we take a live look outside right now, a much milder start to the week. Temperatures are definitely warming up even to the 50s as we look out to Navy Pier.
50s sounds unbelievable and awesome at the same time, Laura.
I think my favorite part is like in the loop. Last week, everyone's face was covered up because it, it was just so insanely cold. You can see everyone's day.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Like you just throw on a normal coat today.
Yeah, normal coat, sweatshirt. I mean, whatever gets you by on a day like today. It feels pretty nice this morning. We've got lots of wind to go along with it too, so that's going to be the big kicker. But with a warmer temperature, especially in late February, you're always going to get some wind to go along with it. Sustained at 16 from the southwest. They've got a gust upwards of 24. It's 42. Feels more like 34. Waukegan 43, 41. Aurora, the 30s. We have El Toro, Valparaiso, LaPorte, and Michigan City. Not too far behind, though, holding at 39 degrees. Breezy conditions. Everyone's feeling the wind at the hour. So gusty winds in place here today. We've got a mix of clouds and sunshine, milder temperatures, going for a high of 53 degrees here today. There's plenty more of that to come here this week. Tracking your mild forecast and rain chances in your first alert forecast.
All right, Laura, thank you. Well, in Will County, jury selection begins any moment now in the trial of Joseph Juba. He's accused of killing 6-year-old Wadi Alfayoumi, who you're seeing here, and stabbing his mother. Prosecutors say Juba was their landlord and neighbor in Plainfield and carried out the crime because the family was Muslim. Darius Johnson is at the courthouse with the latest on this case.
Good morning. Jury selection is about to get underway right now, and just last week the defense filed a motion to have statements made by Joseph Shuba thrown out. These statements were made to a Will County sergeant before Shuba was Mirandized. The judge has decided to allow those statements to be entered as evidence during the trial. Joseph Shuba is charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and 2 counts of a hate crime. On October 14, 2023, Hanan Shaheen told police their landlord, Joseph Shuba, knocked on her door and got into an argument about the Israel-Hamas war. Prosecutors say Shuba essentially blamed Shaheen since she was Muslim. He then attacked her with a knife and as she locked herself in the bedroom and called 911. She was unable to grab her 6-year-old son to pull him to safety. Police arrived to find Shuba outside and Shaheen with more than a dozen stab wounds. Her 6-year-old son, Wadi Al-Fayumi, had 26 stab wounds. He later died at the hospital. Prosecutors say Shuba wanted the two to move out of their Plainfield Township apartment they rented from him as he feared he and his wife were in danger. Prosecutors say Shuba feared Shaheen was going to, quote, call over her Palestinian friends and family to harm them. Shuba pled not guilty to the murder and hate crime charges. Now, this is one of the most high-profile cases out of Will County, and unlike other cases we've covered in the past, we are now able to take still photos inside the courtroom of the defendant, the judge, or any attorneys that are inside. And prosecutors say this mother and son were targeted because they were Muslim. If convicted, Shuba could face a maximum sentence of life in prison. Jury selection is getting underway right now. We'll have an update for you at 11 o'clock. Reporting at the Will County Courthouse, I'm Darius Johnson, CBS News Chicago.
Thank you for those updates there. And new this morning, Chicago Public Schools facing a federal anti-discriminatory complaint for its new Black Student Success Plan. Now, Chalkbeat Chicago reporting an out-of-state advocacy group filed this complaint right after the district released details of this new plan. The group is asking the Department of Education to block the 5-year plan's implementation. In a statement sent to parents, CPS CEO Pedro Martinez said they will stay true to their values and mission of providing all students with daily learning experiences that affirms and celebrates their identities. And Starbucks plans to lay off more than 1,000 corporate employees. That's new this morning. The 1,100 global layoffs come as the new chairman and CEO works to streamline operations. Affected employees will be notified by tomorrow. That's according to a letter released just this morning. Several hundred open and unfilled positions will also be eliminated. Baristas are not included in these layoffs.
Tomorrow, voters in Dalton will decide embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard's fate. Henyard is running against trustee and former ally Jason House in tomorrow's primary election. It comes after a year of escalating political turmoil in that suburb, with an investigation last month finding Henyard mismanaged the village's finances and skirted efforts at transparency with other trustees and the public. There is also a federal investigation underway. Henyard has already lost the Democratic nomination to run for re-election as Thornton Township supervisor. Well, starting today, Cinemark Theaters is giving people the chance to watch Oscar-nominated movies on the big screen. The movie theater company is holding its annual Oscars Movie Week Festival. Cinemark Theaters in Woodridge and Deer Park are two of the theaters that will show Best Picture, Live Action, and Animated Short Film nominees. Information on individual tickets and festival passes can be found at cinemark.com/movie week. It runs until March 2nd.
Well, throughout this Black History Month, we've been sharing lessons presented by some of Chicago's absolute best storytellers and historians.
Indeed, and next we sit down with one of our featured guests to talk about the organization they founded and the mission behind it.
Sometimes taking a really deep breath can help you reset. In today's Mental Health Minute, we have the exercise to help you do just that.
And we've got a mild warm up here today. Highs going up into the 50s. I'll show you how long it hangs around in your first alert forecast.
In the 1960s, 20,000 black students protested against not having enough homework, and 200,000 black students protested poor school conditions. What's up, y'all? It's Mr. Ernest Cram III, your favorite Black history teacher, and class is back in session. We're talking about the work of education this year. So put your phone away and grab a pen and pad to take notes, because I'm liable to give you a pop quiz at any moment. All right, y'all, today's bell ringer question is this. If you had to protest anything in school during your time there, what would it be and why? Today we're talking about student protests for increased academic rigor and better school conditions in the civil rights era. During the 1960s, many black children on the South and West Side, like my parents Ernest and Melody, didn't benefit from the Brown versus Board of Education decision. In fact, some schools like the one I attended, Mount Greenwood, didn't segregate until 1968. To avoid racial integration and busing black children to schools with better conditions in white neighborhoods, Benjamin Willis, the Chicago superintendent at the time, ordered predominantly black schools to add trailer park wagons to their campuses. These trailers with their deplorable conditions became known as Willis wagons to mock the superintendent who made the ill-advised decision. To protest the gross injustice of these Willis wagons, parents, community members, and organizations like the Coordinating Council of Community Organizations organized a demonstration in which 225,000 students stayed home on October 22, 1963. By 1968, high school scholars created an organization called Black Students for Defense. More than 20,000 students were involved. They demanded military training relevant to the needs of black people, improved school conditions, and more homework. Yeah, more homework. They wanted to be challenged academically. These protests and conversations will lead to improvements in some cases and the establishment of more Afrocentric schools in other cases. Now for your exit ticket, here's your question. Which one of the demands made by black students in the 1960s is still relevant to our children today? Put your answer in your notebook and then let me know online at Mr. Krim 3 or at CBS Chicago. All right, y'all, class is dismissed. I'll see you soon.
And Mr. Ernest Krim III, thank you so much for that lesson. Another one of our Black history teachers actually joined us live in studio earlier this morning.
Yeah, I spoke to Tanisha Peoples here on the show about her organization, the Roots Initiative, and how it's helping young black people, especially on the South Side.
Our mission is to activate black youth as the architects and leaders of transformative change. And what that really means is immersing black youth in spaces early on to give them access to opportunities and resources so that we can further movements around black issues and black justice. So yeah, just, serving black youth and really just passing the baton in activism and hoping that they can push our issues forward. We give them access to opportunities early and let them know who they are and whose they are. There's a stronger likelihood that they would be successful and they would thrive and operate in their brilliance and potential. So it's been important, yeah. We really focus on social emotional wellness, collective building, cultural identity awareness. So it's gonna go to those things that we have heard from our students are important that they need to grow and develop and really, stand in their brilliance.
Tanisha Peoples helping kids in Inglewood, and she grew up herself in the neighborhood. If you want to support the mission of the Roots Initiative, it's hosting its Black Excellence Ball this Friday at the Hubbard Inn at 6 p.m. Still tickets available, $75 each, or you can just donate to the organization at therootsinitiative.org. The kids were amazing here. This is such a fun night. It's a big push to bring the arts to kids across Chicago, and this was their special performance at the People's Music School Big Night, which gives kids and teens 100% free tuition for music education. So students get high-level training and music classes, such a huge help for so many families that would not otherwise be able to pay for this training. So I was there that night emceeing the event with 450 people packing that room for the biggest fundraiser for the People's Music School all year, and so many stepped up and gave so generously. CBS News Chicago, proud sponsor of the event, so it's really great to just support and be part of initiatives like this that are bringing access and removing barriers for kids in the city who have big dreams, but they might have a barrier to get to that dream and make it happen. So kudos to everyone who supported the People's Music School, and maybe you should look it up if your kid's interested in music and you need some help along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I love seeing the images of them playing their music too, and I love that they were playing sort of like modern music too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's because I know they're going to be, or they are classically trained, but to hear them do a little glorious stuff.
They did some Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, nice.
It was a fun night for sure.
I love all the sparkles. What was the theme?
Oh yeah. For me, the theme is always just fun.
Fun.
Show up, sparkle, have fun.
I love that. out there. So we got a sparkle in there. What a great night.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. And we're starting off the week really nice, too.
Yes, totally different story from last week.
Yeah.
Really warm week ahead of us. We've got a few minor little blips here, some rain chances, and then we do at least start turning the page and turn colder, at least until the weekend. But from now until then, we're really in a nice place. Small rain chance developing late in the day here, mostly evening, overnight hours. Not a big rain chance for us. Dry on Tuesday. The better rain chance here this week comes this way on Wednesday. And out of all this, we are just talking about plain rain. Small rain chance going into Thursday, but then we've got dry, quiet skies, temps that are going to be fairly mild for this time of year. Here's this evening's rain chance after 7 o'clock, approaching from the northwest, sliding on out of here. There may be a brief shower early tomorrow morning just before daybreak, but tomorrow is going to be a dry day. Went too far forward. Let's go back. So I want to show you Wednesday's forecast. Through Tuesday, no issues here, sunshine, and then here comes that Wednesday rain chance picking up in the morning hours. Likely going to have some downpours for that morning commute. Slow conditions out there to start the day. Things will get better for the second half of the day as the rain wraps up and those winds pick up through the rest of the day, and especially on Friday. Right now, we do have a whole lot of wind, breezy conditions. Temperatures ranging from the low 40s, O'Hare, Joliet, 45, 43, Waukegan. Wind chill factor, middle upper 30s. Above freezing, feeling pretty nice out there. 53 degrees for the high today. We've got some sunshine, west winds coming in between 15 and 20. More of a south-southwest wind and some higher gusts will be possible. Temps could range from the middle 50s to the upper 50s, close to 60, especially farther to the south. This is just the beginning. We've got another warm day tomorrow and Wednesday. Highs low to mid 50s, cooler on Thursday, back to the 50s on Friday, and then reality hits for the weekend will be in the upper 30s, near 40 for both Saturday and Sunday. All right, change gears, talk traffic. It's gonna be weird to be talking about rain on a Wednesday morning, Chris. Different change up from what we're used to.
Anything that you don't have to shovel, let's talk about it every single day.
Yeah, there you go.
We're getting into the dog days of February, Laura, so that's nice to see that we're going to be in the 50s, and we've had some challenges this morning. We had a big closure on the Kennedy that reopened about 8:30, and now we've got a problem in northwest Indiana for our friends in Porter County. Let's go ahead and take a look over here. We've got a nasty crash that has US 20 closed off from just east of State Road 49 over to Brummett Road, and that's going to be till further notice. So north up to 12, up along the dunes there, are down to I-94 in order to bypass that scene. Core expressways look a whole lot better than they did before. There's a lot of red out by the Tri-State, and the 290 there had an earlier incident. That's gone, but it's still very slow getting through there. Expressways, especially the Kennedy, still a little bit slow leaving downtown. It breaks open by the time you get out to about Belmont. A little bit tight there just past the junction, a little bit past Lawrence on out to the Naval Curve. That's pretty standard for this time of day and day of the week. Watch out for the pothole patrol. Are going to be out there filling the divots as the weather gets better. Chris Habermill, CBS News Chicago.
I'm Marisa Vedra, and in today's Mental Health Minute, I'm having a day, I don't know if you can tell, where I'm sweating, I'm running around, I'm doing a million things. And I sat down to tape this and realized how good a few deep breaths could do me. So we're talking today about a breathing exercise that any of us can do anytime we need it with Dr. David Tholey with Advocate Children's Hospital. So doctor, walk me through this. I need this today.
So this is an exercise that I made up. I'm a pediatric cardiologist, so I see a lot of kids with heart problems. So I made up this breathing exercise several years ago to really stretch out the chest muscles, and it does help get rid of the tightness in the chest.
Okay.
Almost everybody said, it feels great, that feels wonderful.
Yeah.
And so I have now incorporated it when someone has anxiety or depression. I think it's something that anyone can do multiple times a day. It's free, lasts very little time.
Okay, so walk me through it. I'd love to do it.
This is a modification on box breathing. So with box breathing, you breathe in through your nose, hold it out through your mouth, and hold it. The counterintuitive part of it is I want you to make it hurt. Bring on as much pain as possible.
I see what
no
you're saying.
pain, no gain.
Okay.
So on your mark, get set, go. Breathe in through your nose. Now make it hurt a lot. Real big breath in.
I'm maxed out.
And then hold your breath. So right now we're stretching our diaphragm, our ribs, our intercostal muscles. You hold it a long time, as long as you can, kind of, and then blow it out your mouth. And blow it out until it again hurts. And stop breathing and just breathe normal. And notice how that makes you feel.
Oh my gosh, immediately.
Immediately it helps. And the sneaky thing is, it helps you out,
yes,
but it helps me out because my life is also stressful.
Of course, everyone can do it and see benefits.
Yeah.
And I do really think it's key to make it hurt when you're pushing the limits, and that deep depth of breath and also blowing the air out, it makes a difference. So do that in the car, at your desk, in the shower, whenever you need to take a minute for your mental health.
And for more quick ways to boost your spirit, head to cbschicago.com/mentalhealthminute.
And you'll find so many helpful ideas to de-stress, hopefully have a better day. I love that Marie was like, I need this today too.
I mean, sometimes these hit extra hard, and actually her mental health minute from a week or so ago that said to buy flowers for yourself, I was standing in a grocery store the other day staring at them, and I didn't because the price, but I should have. But that was the one I really wanted. It was not that kind.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Right now, a special announcement to provide continued health care to those who need it most here in Chicago. You're looking live from Englewood, where One Health is making a donation to Heartland Alliance Health. Heartland runs clinics, food pantries, and other programs that serve several thousand people. They say the funds will help save more than 100 jobs and allow for expansion and improved care. Just last week, the nonprofit announced they were reversing their decision to close at the end of the month.
Yeah, huge deal there. Huge savings for them to be able to stay open and impact all those people.
Absolutely. And here's a look at the stories that we're keeping an eye on today.
And one of them is jury selection underway right now in the Highland Park parade shooting trial. The suspect facing more than 100 charges, accused of killing 7 people and injuring dozens more at the 4th of July parade in 2022. It was a devastating day. CBS News Chicago will be in the Lake County Courthouse each day to follow this case.
And in Will County, jury selection also just started for a landlord accused of stabbing a 6-year-old boy in Plainfield. 71-year-old Joseph Juba faces murder charges in the death of Wadi Alfioumi. Juba is accused of attacking the boy and his mother in October of 2023, angered over the Israel-Hamas war. He has pleaded not guilty.
The outbound Kennedy at the Eden Split is back open after several hours. We're told 2 cars crashed there just after 2:30 this morning. We do know 2 people were taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The expressway opened back up at 8:30 after about 6 hours shut down there.
Oh, we've got a breezy, warmer day for us. Highs going up into the 50s, 53 degrees. We've got rain-free skies until at least this evening. Couple of passing showers going into the overnight hours. Early Tuesday morning, just before daybreak, there may be a leftover shower. Low 50s through at least Wednesday. Another chance for rain by the midweek, and then drying, turning cooler eventually Saturday, Sunday. Friday, 50s to finish out the week. I mean, what a week for us.
Yeah, very nice. I will take the rain on Wednesday. I don't even care.
Yeah.
After last week, we can actually walk outside again and not be
like all bundled up and miserable.
Yes.
I know.
Like, I'm happy.
It was painful. Yes, we're all happy. Smiles on our faces. Thanks
It's a collective. It's a collective feeling for sure.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us here on the news at 9. Always appreciate you joining us. Your local news continues throughout the day on our stream.
Have a great day and stay safe.